But Regina, she lived her life with a vengeance. She rushed into death's arms, from consumption, exacerbated by endless rounds of morphine and debauchery, at the tender age of 18. The last few months of her life, I slept in the same room with her and I took care of her every need. But nothing could save her. It was so lovely and so tragic. Oh, I knew what others could never know. And in a very real way, Marguerite was Regina. Here was my chance to create a role full of depth and longing, full of noble sacrifice. To me, the most touching moment for Marguerite is right after she realizes, even with Armand's return and the letter of acceptance from his father, there would be no miraculous cure. Not even one extra hour of life for her. So she says to him tenderly, as she feels death kneeling beside her, Armand, go to my dressing table. In a little box you will find a locket. It's my portrait of the days when I was pretty. Keep it. I had it made for you. It will help you to remember me later on. But if someday you are loved by a young, pure girl and you marry her, as you must and as I wish it to be, if she asks of this portrait, tell her this of a friend who, if God allows her to do so from some obscure little corner of heaven, prays every day for you and for her. If she is jealous of the past, as we often are, we women, and she asks you to make sacrifice of this portrait, make it without fear, without regret. It is right. I forgive you in advance. Marguerite was such a success that if I was to perform only one play in any given city, it would be La Dame aux Camélias. And like Marguerite, I traveled in the greatest of style in my own palace-like train car. It was such luxury. The entire train carriage looked like a delicate piece of lilac jewelry. On the way to Boston, we decided to stop in Menlo Park and pay a visit on Thomas Edison. And there before us, a field of stars descended. It was strung like garlands through the fields across the lane. The magnificent lighted globes of Thomas Edison were astonishingly beautiful. And my first question was, when will we ever have electricity in the theater? It seemed to, as you say, break the ice. But Mr. Edison, he spoke very little French. But I was charmed with his timorous grace and profound love of Shakespeare, which seems to be the universal language of theater. He had the most magnificent blue eyes. They were more luminous than his incandescent lamps. And half an hour later, we were best of friends. It was with great regret that I boarded my little train and headed to Boston. And the only thing bad about Boston was this odious, fast-talking entrepreneur called Henry Smith who looked like a toad. He extended this invitation to me to visit this giant blue whale he had captured and brought into the harbor still alive. At Mr. Toad's insistence, I climbed upon the poor creature's back With his well, it was my Waterloo. Thereafter, giant posters blasted every city claiming that the now dead whale met its demise at the hand of none other than Sarah Bernhardt, merely for the sake of procuring windbone for her corset. Well, I do not now, nor did I ever wear a corset. It's a fact of my life which is totally lost on the public. I would have given anything to cut that Mr. Toad into little pieces and feed him to Moby Dick. In Chicago, I was nearly attacked at the train station by adoring fans. This one woman, she came at my face with a pair of scissors, trying to clip a lock of my hair. And another, she attacked my dress, and another my hat. This group of piranha-like fans, they ripped and clutched and grabbed at me until I screamed. And suddenly I was hoisted off my feet into the air by two strong arms. This is the end, they thought, but no. I landed on the shoulders of some Goliath who raced his way across the crowd and deposited me in the nearest taxi. The next day I learned my beloved savior had been recaptured. He was an escaped prisoner, convicted of killing his lover. But I could not believe this. So I went immediately to the prison with my company in tow, and I performed for the inmates. I was shocked to learn he was to be hanged the next day. He swore to me with his dying breath that he was innocent. I believed him. I wept for him. I hated the penalty of death, the vestige of cowardly barbarism. After Chicago, it became an endless stream of city after city as our little train bore us across the nation. When our weary troop finally arrived back in New York, we had given 157 performances in 52 cities, all of which I left happily behind. And I returned to Paris with a pot of gold and a resolve to spend more time with my son. Maurice, he shared the fantasy of my admirers who called me a goddess. The divine Sarah, as Oscar Wilde dubbed me. He soon had all of England and Europe calling me the same. It's not easy to live up to such adoration. Well, I never wanted to disappoint my son. He never saw me out of makeup, or weary or tired. You must never tarnish a wit. The golden fleece is ever in jumping. Woolen nightgowns, cold cream, and hairnets create nothing but nightmares and indigestion. The afternoon we were to arrive back in New York, I was so anxious to see my son. I spent the whole afternoon practicing how I would greet him. My son, my child, how I missed you so. Mama is here, and she has missed you terribly. My son, my child, it has been torture to be apart from you, Maurice. Spent less time preparing for Lady Macbeth. But this time, when I returned to America, he took his place at my side and he became a part of my world. So anyway, America had brought me and my son closer together. But my first tour of America did not make me popular at home in France. It was an insult, they thought, to Racine, to Molière, to perform such literary treasures in front of vulgar Yankee millionaires, illiterate cowboys, and blanketed Indians. Well, I considered myself an ambassadress of goodwill and culture, and a very well-paid ambassadress at that. But Paris thought otherwise, largely due to the slanders and lies of my one-time friend, Marie Colombier, who wrote all sorts of grotesquely comical stories about me while I was away. Serial stories claiming which a tour which she herself was in was a calamitous string of horrendous flops, and I was a has-been. Nothing could have been further from the truth. But I won them back. By waylaying this long-time friend and colleague of my Legat, I had her maid, as my accomplice, deliver this false story to her in her garden. Madame Legat, I have some terrible news. Your handsome captain, he had a tendency to overact. Badly. The poor man is in a terrible accident. They are taking him to surgery. They say that he might die. center, fleeing to his side out of town, of course. And this was all orchestrated a mere few hours before this grand gala event assembled for the creme de la creme of Paris, where she, now to be me, was to be the grand finale. You have never seen 2,000 faces dead white and gasped with amazement as they did that night. Eyes flew wide as I strode center stage unannounced to seize the climactic moment. Here was the France that adored me, implored me, and now chosen to ignore me. I stood before them, the most famous and infamous woman of their world. As the orchestra began the first strains of the Marseillaise, my voice rang out those magical words. Allons et bon, déjà patrie, le jour du gloire est arrive. Contre nous de la tyrannie, l'étendard sanglant des lèvres. My life, my career, my love for my country, my need for these people, galvanized into the power of my voice. It soared above the orchestra and they soared with me in my passion for the words of freedom. Aux hommes, citoyens, formez-vous bataillon. The entire audience rose as one, and like a wave, cresting towards me and joined their voices to mine. Liberté, liberté, chérie! And as the orchestra swelled to its climactic crescendo, I flung my arms wide. Chant triomphe et notre gloire! It was a miraculous onslaught of audacity, which swept all doubt and derision of my talent aside and made me the reigning muse of Paris once more.